And welcome to CNFR Tonight here at the Wyoming Sports Ranch, the home of the Mercantile Trade Show. I'm your host, Brandon Edwards, and we are just 1 hour away from the heart-pounding, boot-stomping action of the College National Finals Rodeo. Tonight, we want to take you behind the scenes with not just the students and coaches with buckles on the line, but also with the people with a heart for serving others that are so crucial to the CNFR Week events that make this rodeo bigger than what happens inside the competitive arena. Events like the Special Olympics Rodeo, where athletes spend time with the contestants and coaches while experiencing firsthand the thrill of rodeo with everything from roping lessons thanks to Smarty training systems, horseback rides from New Horizons occupational therapy, and even some rough stock lessons from world champs. Plus, a free t-shirt in memory of Brandy Forgy. A special thank you to the Natrona County Cowbells for feeding everybody and the Ford Wyoming Center for hosting this event every year. Now, the Cinch Style Show was also today and raised over $15,000 for the NIRA Foundation that benefits scholarships and injured athlete relief. Students showcased the newest apparel from Cinch jeans and shirts, while attendees got to participate in live and silent auctions with items donated from local, regional, and national sponsors, including some once-in-a-lifetime ticket packages from rodeos like Houston and Cheyenne. Now, we want to say thank you to everyone who helps with these two events, from the volunteers, the vendors, the rodeo committees, and the participants that have always been willing to make a very special effort to showcase the best parts of our rodeo family. Now, tonight in competition, there are too many storylines being created to possibly cover in one show, but here are just a few of the things that we want to highlight about what you'll be seeing in tonight's performance. Now, last night, Cooper Heimberg of Missouri Valley put up a go-round winning 81.5 points on Rodeo Blood of Brookman Rodeo to secure his spot in the short round. And tonight, he'll be battling Summit Pro Rodeo's Karina in pursuit of a national title with defending reserve champion Cooper Philippek of Gillette, who's drawn Rip from Championship Rodeo Company. Now, tonight might be the only time this year we get to refer to Bradley Miller as a dark horse, but if there's anyone that can come back from the 8th high call spot, it might very well be the world #1, who's drawn Cowtown to Summit Pro Rodeo, a two-time Mountain State Circuit Finals horse that only had 2 rides of his entire season last year, marked under 85.5. Slade Wood is involved in both of the tightest races of the night. Wood and Southwest Texas College teammate Tyler Calhoun are both riding the same horse this week and are tied at 29.6 in the high call spot. Plus, the former team roping champ Wood is currently tied for the lead in the all-around race with Jace Mayfield. Now, Mayfield has a strong advantage, however, coming back in both the team roping and the steer wrestling. Also up tonight in the tie-down roping is Kobe Dausch of Hill College, the only contestant left in the field with a chance to win back-to-back titles in the same event. Last year's breakaway and all-around champ, Madeline Richards, had a little bad luck last night and will be not earning points or a short-round qualification in the breakaway and won't be able to defend either of her 2024 titles. But the good news is that she is poised to improve on her last year's top 10 finish in the GOATs, as she currently sits at second high call behind Tori Brower of Tarleton in a short round where only 9/10 of a second separate first through sixth callback. 2023 champ and current all-around women's leader Hayden Thompson of Gillette College has snuck into the short round in a 3-way tie for 12th, 13th, and 14th that puts her 1 calf behind in the average, but as no woman this year has qualified to the short round in 2 events, that might very well be the nail to the trophy case she needs for a second national title. The breakaway race is tied at the top with Kate Island, Hannah Geiger, and national finals qualifier Riley George all in the top 3. And the classic event of rodeo is being led by Thunderbird James Parent. But just a few points behind him is the PRCA rookie earnings leader Coleman Schallbetter of Tarleton. And Schallbetter has drawn Rude Roommate of Brookman's, a horse that he's familiar with, having placed on him last year in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Outside of the saddle bronc riding, the best chance for the hometown Casper College to win a CNFR title is going to be the team roping, where Clay Helm and Cash Reynolds are currently 3rd high call behind 2 teams that would love to win the CNFR for the Southwest region before next year's split. The steer wrestling is going to feature a lot of great stories, including 2 Montana State brothers hazing for each other in the finals, all-around contender Jace Mayfield, a son of a past CNFR champion, but it is Northwest Mississippi State's Will Collier's to lose, as he holds a 2.5 lead over his nearest competition. The barrel race is a story of putting two preseason long shots together in the top two spots of the short round. AC Pinkston of Southwest Texas had to take a 3-rodeo hiatus with the NIRA transfer penalty, and Treasure Valley's Addison Wright missed the first 4 rodeos of her season after losing a horse, but both ended up not only making the CNFR, but winning their regions, which is frankly just incredible when you consider that these cowgirls had to put more points on the board in 7 and 6 rodeos respectively than their competition did in 10. Pinkston and Wright were also number 1 and number 2 in go round number 3. Now, I'll be happy to admit my mistakes from last night, and in last night's broadcast, I stated that only 3 contestants had a mathematical chance at the bull riding title, but frankly, I forgot about Lane Vaughn of West Texas. Now, Trace Scarlavi of Mid-Plains and Gavin Knutson of the University of Montana Western are the captains of their own fate as the only contestants with a chance at going 4 for 4 this week, but however unlikely it is, there is still the possibility that Vaughn could come back from 1 bull behind and win the event if both of those 2 fail to make the whistle and he scores 85 points or more on Air Force of Summit Pro Rodeo. But that's a bull that bucked off last year's CNFR champ Wacy Shalla at Elizabeth just 2 weeks ago. Now, at its heart, the NIRA is more than just an association for acolytes in the arena, but it's also an avenue for students to grow in their leadership abilities, and there's one young man that has taken full advantage of that opportunity. He's sitting right next to me, the student president that has been newly elected for next season, and the 2025 Walt Garrison Award winner, Mr. Travis Smith of Cal Poly. How are you, bud?
Doing well. Thank you for having me.
You had to sit there for a while, though. That's good. You're sneaky. I like that, man. So you were named this year's Walt Garrison Award winner. Tell us a little bit about, first of all, tell us how your coach tricked you into nominating you for that award.
Well, it was a very sweet deal. I had nominated a fellow named Tyler from the West Coast region who is very deserving of the award, and we were planning on putting together a video for him, and I was talking in the video and going over qualities of the Walt Garrison Award and how he possessed them, and then we got to the college finals and turned out the video was for me, and a lot of kids in the region were talking about me, and so they kind of flipped it on me and tricked me into it.
And that's good. We heard absolutely nothing but really high praise from Ben Londo, who's a man that when he gives high praise, people listen. So, congratulations on that. When you look at what the Walt Garrison Award means, what factors, what things do you put an emphasis on there?
Well, I think a lot of the award is about not necessarily how you compete in the arena, but how you carry yourself outside of the arena as well. You talk about my coach Ben Londo. One thing that he's very big on in the practice pen and when we're at home and not at the rodeo is how you carry yourself in the arena has to be the way you carry yourself outside. If you're going to be a team player, it goes when you're practicing, it goes at the rodeo, and it goes when you're in your classroom or downtown. I mean, character plays a big role in the tradition of rodeo, and I just think that everything we do, we just want to be the best stewards of the sport we can, and I think that's what the award's all about.
I like that word you use there, steward. So not only did you get this award, but you've served now in seasons as the student director of your region. So for kids that are looking at college rodeo, kind of explain what that responsibility entails as a student director.
Yes, sir. So I've been the director of the West Coast region for 2 years now, and was just re-elected at our regional finals a few months ago, and it's been a great experience for me getting to serve our student athletes for all the schools in the West Coast region, and I think a lot of that is just bridging the gap between our national office and our local rodeos up and down the California coast. We try to put a lot of emphasis on students that of course can perform well in the arena, but it's also about making sure that the students that are putting in efforts that don't necessarily win those titles get seen and heard and get the recognition they deserve. And so as a director, you work with sponsors and you work with coaches and you work with students and try to get everyone to compete and help each other out and just make a great harmonic event every time we put on a rodeo.
I like that. So you got nominated for, and when I say you got nominated for student president this year, for all those that didn't have a chance to be in the board meeting, he got nominated, and then everybody just kind of went, yeah, and nominations closed. And it was pretty much unanimous that you were somebody that we wanted in a leadership position. So what do you look for as far as, now holding on that extra responsibility, how is your role going to change?
Well, Brandon, I'm sure excited. It's quite a title to take on, and quite honestly, our exiting president, Jacob Walters, he's done a phenomenal job leading the NIRA, and I've got some big shoes to fill for sure, but I'm excited, and tell you the truth, what a blessing, and what just a great thing, great feeling for me to have so many people believe in me and my ability to lead the NIRA, and I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to working with all our regional faculty and student directors across the nation, and just keep on making NIRA stronger and better every year we can.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, he left it very in good shape, and he's putting it in very good hands. So congratulations, and thank you for your heart for service to this association.
We appreciate that.
Amen. Well, it might not be one of the most obvious updates that you see when you walk into the Ford Wyoming Center, but over the last couple of years, we've been lucky enough to add a very key piece and a key player to the CNFR Arena team.
You can call us footing guys, dirt techs, arena groomers, but you can't just throw anybody on a tractor and say, hey, go do this, because if they don't understand how livestock moves, they'll never get it right. Hello, my name is Mike Calderete, and I am your CNFR tractor driver of 2025. Let me get bumpy. You get to experience a little bit of what I feel. Right now, I am filling in the holes from the barrel race last night. That way I can get that footing consistent and even, so everybody has an even track to run on. I don't like to feel any divots, and the horses don't like to run in the holes, and the contestants don't like to run in the holes either. So I'm trying to flatten everything out as even as possible. No, you got to have the right blend. You start getting too much clay in here, it gets too hard and slippery. You got to get that footing right. Just one little divot in the ground will put a horse off, or the rider, she'll be off on her game as well. The most difficult part about this is getting the barrel racers content, and they're never happy. They're always upset about the ground. And me being a girl dad, I thought it was easy for me because I put my girls first all the time, and I've learned to listen and pay attention to their needs. It's not only just for the barrel horses, it's for our rough stock. Our rough stock, they buck and turn real hard, and they need a good footing to perform the best that they can perform as well. We got a hard pan on the bottom, and then 12 inches on top of the hard pan is when we play with the footing, because a lot of these horses, when they dig in those pockets, I mean, they get in there, and when they're starting to pull out, they got a really hard push and pull when they turn those barrels. It is.
What do you like about doing those?
The smiles of everybody being content when they leave, knowing the satisfaction of knowing that the horses left here without injury, and just seeing the contestants' excitement and their adrenaline rush when they're winning.
Saw there, Mike has been a great guy to know, because he's actually also a multi-time Best Footing Award winner in the WPRA, and has made quite a name for himself working some really high-stakes events around the country. Now, college rodeo is the perfect avenue for rodeo professionals that had great competition careers to pass along their just wisdom to the next generation of rodeo athletes and have another career in the sport of rodeo even after their time as a competitor might come to a close. One of those is this gentleman to my right, who is can't brag on him enough, and I'll let him tell his story. Mr. Jeff Collins, head coach of Panola College. How are you, my friend?
Real good. Yeah,
Good,
thanks for having me.
Well, man, it is the first time in the history of this show and the time that we've done it that I've got to sit down with a world champ. So thank you for that, and a future Pro Rodeo Hall of Famer, which is just awesome to see, and I think very well deserved. What was that like, getting that phone call?
It was very emotional when they called me. I'm like, you got the wrong guy. But very emotional. A lot of things going through your head, but it's just a blessing, you know. And the good Lord's just taking care of me in so many different ways, and that was one that was very unexpected, and just I can't put into words how it felt, but it was a great blessing. Glory to God.
When you were rodeoing, I mean, obviously you knew you were a force to be reckoned with. You got a world title to your name, all of that. But, you know, was the Hall of Fame something that really seemed possible, or was it ever a goal of yours while you were rodeoing?
No, it was never a goal, and it never really seemed possible. When we were rodeoing first, we got out of college, and Mark Gomes, my traveling partner, and I, we set out. We just honestly wanted to see how far we can go. We thought we could make the NFR and thought we could make a living rodeo, so we just set out and did it. And then as you get older in your years and more mature, you start seeing guys like Ty Murray and Joe Beaver getting inducted, and you're thinking that is for the multi-times, for the greats, you know, for the legends. So it never really crossed our mind. It never was a goal, but Mark Gomes was a 98 world champion bareback rider, and traveled with him for 13 years, and it's such a blessing. But you know, there's so many guys that I know that deserve to be in there way more than me, but it's just a blessing, you know. But it never was a goal of ours.
Well, when you say things like great and legends, man, I'm sorry, but you're in that category to a lot of people here, and you're one of them guys that walks into a meeting in this building with all the great personalities, and people stop to hear you listen. So when you take what things got you through your career and elevated you to a high status as a competitor, what of those things do you really try to implement as a coach as well to pass along to the next generation?
You know, these kids come in, and I feel like you have high school rodeo where you're individually rodeoed, and then you have college rodeo where you got a team rodeo, then you go back to pro rodeo where you're kind of on your own again. So number one, we start with the team deal, because they're a little bit selfish when they come in, and not on purpose, but just by the way they came up. So we get the team deal implemented first, and then after that, I'm not really there for their high times, because everybody's pretty good in the high times, but when it's the lows, when they hit the bottoms, and in college rodeo, it's the hardest, man, because you got peer pressure. All your buddies are videoing you. It's going to be on Facebook. You're going to be in a Snapchat group, and I promise you, when you mess up, it's going to be multiplied 50 times.
They didn't have Rodeo Rex as a Facebook group. Yeah.
Thank God they didn't have some videos of ours, because I guarantee you, I still get videos as a day of when I'm getting bucked off at Gaddafi at the finals, and that's all my buddies send me. They won't send me the good ones, you know. So that's how kids are. There's a lot of peer pressure. You got coach pressure. You're leaving home for the first time. You're kind of on your own. And of course, you want to have a good time. So what I try to get through them, the number one thing is it's never as big as a moment as it really seems. When we look back in time, those moments we thought were the end of the world was like, just calm down. I promise you, you're going to embarrass yourself worse in front of a lot more people for a lot more money later on. So this ain't the last time you're going to crash.
Something to look forward to,
Yeah, you're going to crash again. So really, you kind of look for them to crash when you get there, because those are the times when they're down low, when you get to be close with them, you get to visit with them, you get to see what makes them tick, and you get to say, look, it ain't the end of the world here. We're moving on, and we're still got some great things to do here.
Well, Jeff, thank you for taking the time, but I know you're busy here working as a coach. Like you said, I hope you got to stick around for the awards ceremony and give some accolades to students, but thank you for what you've meant to the sport of rodeo. Thank you for what you mean to these kids, and for being around here and the influence that you've had, and it's been an honor to get to sit and talk to you, and hope to do it more sometime.
Yeah, I'm blessed. Okay. Thank you.
Appreciate it, bud. Well, folks, we're going to be right back here with we'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
This is where strength begins and courage takes over. Timing, precision, moments that define us. Cinch, lead, don't follow.
a big thing for us to be able to feature some of the coaches that have made it all possible, brought students here to the CNFR, and someone with a very unique perspective on this rodeo is the young lady sitting right next to me, Faith Anders of Missouri Valley College. Man, we miss you in Colorado. So I've got to know her for many, many years as a good friend and competitor. What's it like walking into this building as a contestant and then coming back as a coach and dealing with the differences in that?
Yeah, definitely there's a difference. Thanks for having me on tonight.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting to come here, goat tying was my passion from a very young age, and the CNFR's, you know, that's the pinnacle in that sport. And so getting to make it as a contestant here is a dream come true. It's what you work hard for. I remember getting a CNFR sticker in 6th grade, I think, you know, and that was the dream. And so getting to come here as a contestant, it's a dream come true. It's what you work hard for. You know, that's the top of the mountain. And then getting to come here as a coach, I mean, that's just even a dream that I didn't know I had for a while, you know, and it's humbling to get to be here in that, you know, not only does a college and, you know, my head coach and my contestants, you know, trust me and that I get to, you know, pass on my knowledge, but just to get to be involved with this sport, goat tying, breakaway roping, barrel, you know, all the women's events, and just college rodeo, what it's done for me, it's such a blessing to just get to still be a part of it.
What was that transition like, or when did you realize that maybe your college career, college coach, wasn't over, that you didn't just have to put the period at the end of your contestant lifestyle, you could continue that and wanted to continue that?
You know, the idea had come, like, when I started college. You know, my women's coach, my first 2 years, is a former national champion, Shelby Winchell, and she's amazing. And so I got to see what she did for me, you know, and the experience that she learned while she was college rodeo and helped me. And so I said, man, I would love to do that, you know. And as I got farther into my career, it just kind of became more of a reality the more conversations I had with other colleges and other coaches, and opportunities came about, and I was able to get hired on the fall after my last semester competing.
What's a piece of advice then that you can give to your students? I mean, from being a competitor to now being the one that's kind of guiding them through this process, what's the best piece of advice you can give them?
I'm going to piggyback off Jeff, because it's the moment's not as big as it feels. Especially like I said, goat tying, this is the pinnacle of this sport, and so it's so easy to think this is it, this is what I've worked hard for, and it absolutely is. But the moment's not as big. Our purpose lies outside the arena, and I'm so blessed that, you know, our avenue of sharing the gospel and getting to be, you know, Christ followers is centered around the arena, and what a blessing that is. But our purpose lies outside of it, and so what happens in the arena doesn't define you. There's not one run that takes away your talent or your hard work or anything you've put into this sport. You know, it's who we are outside the arena that absolutely matters, more than anything that happens inside the arena. It's just an avenue for that.
Well, as someone who has got to consider you a friend for a long time, I want to say thank you for walking that walk and being a really positive influence. You're one of those people that when people ask me about their kids going to school for you, I say, man, them are great hands for them to be in, and proud to have you as a part of College Rodeo.
Well, thank you.
Amen. Well, thank you all for taking the time, and we'll be right back after this.
Get ready for a new CNFR experience. In June 2025, the Wild Sports Ranch will crack the latch on the first ever Mercantile, your Wyoming trade show. A 5-day shopping paradise with over 130,000 square feet and over 200 vendor spaces available. Close enough to rope it all in during your stay. More information at wildsportsranch.com. We'll see you at the Mercantile.
Well, joining me next up is Lindsay Pulsifer, who is another former CNFR contestant, multi-time CNFR contestant, I'll get that, that's adding her influence to college rodeo by launching a new platform that connects up-and-coming rodeo athletes with coaches, with scholarships, and just options as they go forward. So I guess let's jump right in. Lindsay, tell us about college rodeo recruiting.
So this is a program that I created because, like a lot of kids, I ended up with a lot of scholarships. I went to the College Fair at Nationals, got a lot of exposure there, had no clue what I was doing. And then I ended up picking a program that wasn't the best fit and had to end up transferring, and it was a long road, a very expensive road. And then I saw my brother go through kind of the same process, but for college football. And then when I ended up, like, my college rodeo career was done, and I just realized, you know, there needs to be something created because these kids need some help.
Right. So what does your program do to support those next generation of student athletes?
So it's a pre-recorded program, so I take you through every single step. I also have interviews with coaches and athletes, one of the coaches actually being Faith Hoffman, now Anders. And and she, you know, it's really cool because I take them through all the steps and they have access immediately, but then they also have a community where I post scholarships and everything from there, but then at the same time they have 24/7 access to support from me to help with any part of the process.
What do you think is the biggest one or biggest top two challenges that you're seeing athletes or families kind of face, or the biggest questions they ask?
I think when to get started. I think they all need to get started earlier, of course, because there's just a lot that happens, but also just not knowing, because I think a lot of the questions I run into is just the fact that they think that they're not good enough because they've never been to nationals or never won a state title. I think just realizing that there is a program that's out there for you and a lot of ways that you can be a college rodeo athlete, and I just think just knowing that there's some place out there for you is just one of the biggest questions I answer all the time.
So what is it about your work where you connect with students on one side, coaches on the other, that you think best serves the whole of college rodeo?
I think just the fact that, you know, like my program is a preferred program of the NIRA now, and just having access to the coaches and the support of the NIRA just makes it to where if I have questions or if I have coaches reach out and want recruits for certain events or whatnot, I have plethora of recruits to choose from. And then parents can also feel like that, you know, I'm not biased towards any sort of program, and that I can have the tools to help support them find the best fit for them, not just the best program from one's perspective.
Nice. So I guess last, coach, just let's give you a shameless plug here. So where can people go to learn more about your program?
CollegeRodeoRecruiting.com. That's where the website is. You can join there, and once people join, they get instant access. But College Rodeo Recruiting on Instagram as well. We have a lot of stuff on there, but yeah. It's pretty easy to find.
Well, I can definitely speak to your point that there is a lot of confusion and there's a lot of stress, especially if you've got a student that maybe you are coming into kind of green and don't have somebody that's been through the college rodeo recruiting process, an absolute wealth of knowledge, and someone who will take all the time in the world to answer any questions you got and be some really amazing guidance through the process. So we got one more feature after this, but a word from our sponsors.
From one generation to the next, the spirit of rodeo is passed down. Born from legacy, built for legends. Horsepower Boots.
This is not just your regular rodeo.
All kinds of exciting action.
Shootout time, Bobby T.
Got the cameras on me again.
Let's go!
It's 65 grand. Unbelievable for the champion of the world.
Look at this horsepower.
For the first time, a rodeo Houston champion.
Which was live right here on air. We got to surprise one of our college rodeo students with a very special gift, very special award. So we have an award this year in part of a partnership from the NIRA and Smarty Rodeo that embodies the spirit of sportsmanship. And to talk a little bit more about that award and the things that Smarty is looking forward to in the future, I have with us Miss Program Manager Abby Barnes. How are you, my friend?
Good. How are you, Brandon?
Good. So I guess, you know, welcome obviously to the CNFR family as a sponsor this year. So what is it about the CNFR and college rodeo that you think and feel aligns with Smarty and the values that y'all project?
Well, with Smarty, a big initiative of ours has always been our youth program. And then, of course, we have our pro athletes too. Well, we recognize there's a gap between the two, and what's that gap is the collegiate level. So for the past 2 years, we've been working with the coaches, and now we're getting more involved, finding out how can we help, how can the kids benefit from us being involved in their programs. And so we've taken that step to now we have our own collegiate team that we try to help, not just inside the arena, but outside the arena as well.
Nice. So what does that look like then past college rodeo as well, like trying to serve the larger community?
So a lot of our monthly calls, we have monthly calls with our athletes, and a lot of those are based on different skill sets to help them in the professional level, whether they're wanting to pro rodeo or go into a professional Western industry role. So we have interview skills, we have financing, different subjects like that maybe they don't get covered on the day-to-day in school and things like that.
In some of those things that you're covering, what have you seen that's actually been most serving to the students you're working with?
I would say kind of the teamwork.
Okay.
We have athletes from all 11 regions, which is really cool representing us, and most of them have never met, and they come together on these monthly calls, just a bunch of strangers, and next thing you know, they're reaching out for advice, they're building friendships, forming bonds, and helping each other, just using their network, which is what we try to teach them to do.
That's a good place to be, part of the center of that. So
Right.
what, anything new, exciting we can look forward to coming from you guys? You put some amazing products in the last couple of years, so, what's next?
Our recent thing is our new Super Shorty. We took the Heelmatic Super Slider, Smarty Shorty, combined them. It's a pretty neat deal. We got real involved in the Women's Rodeo Championship this year and sponsored the goat tying, so I know we're going to kind of step that up a notch next year. And then, of course, being involved with the CNFR, I've been out here all week and seen some places that I think maybe we can help out more and be a bigger asset to you guys.
Well, we're looking forward to great things to come, and thank you for being a part of College
Thanks
Rodeo.
for having us. It's been a great week.
Absolutely. Well, that wraps it up for tonight's edition of CNFR Tonight, and actually this CNFR's week's edition. So we're streaming live on collegerodeotv.com, which has got a full slate of CNFR archives and an even bigger set of plans in place for the coming season. We're just 30 minutes away from the culmination of an entire season's work and the crowning of dedicated athletes as champions of the College National Finals. Now, if you can't be here in person, you can follow the action live on the ESPN app and see the results on collegerodeo.com. But if you're here in beautiful Casper, Wyoming, we're going to see you over in the Ford Wyoming Center, where the action starts tonight right at 7 o'clock. Enjoy the performance, and be sure to follow College Rodeo on Facebook and Instagram for the most current updates. For all of you in the stands, cheer loud tonight for all the finalists, and we look forward to seeing you again in 2026. Good luck, safe travels. This is CNFR Tonight.